When your kids are born, everything seems possible. The unemployment rate for people with different capabilities is over 80%. So with John and his Down syndrome, we were concerned about what he would do.
I'm John Quinn, and since my father Mark, we are John's Quinn Socks.
As he was coming to the end of his high school career, what'd you say?
I said I want to start socks because I want Quinn Socks my entire life.
So this sounded like a good idea. So we put up a website, we got some inventory, and we shipped 452 orders in that month. So that told us people want to buy socks from John.
It's John Quinn Socks!
That's where the commitment grew to hire people with different capabilities, demonstrating here's what's possible. But we still knew we had to get through a year, and we learned socks are seasonal. So business was very slow. We had to let some people go. I will never let that happen again. When it's not a natural selling season, you have to be more creative. AdWords helped us understand where our customers coming from. What can we do to better reach them? And all of a sudden, we started getting
Ding, 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 ding.
Business was taking off, and now we've been doing 1,500, 2,000 orders a day. We've created 35 jobs, and 15 of those are people with some form of different capability.
I'm so lucky to have the best father ever. I love him so much.
I couldn't do this without you.
Me too, Dad.
Hello and welcome to Google Partners Connect, broadcasting live from the Googleplex in Mountain View, California. My name is Cedric Lewis and I'm on the Partners team. We're thrilled to have you with us today. We have a great lineup of speakers for you, and we're going to be talking about growing your retail business online, as well as other strategies that you can carry out with your Google partner. Now, before we get started, I want to highlight two main things. One, the Google partners there in the room with you, they can answer all of your questions during as well as after the broadcast. And remember, these folks are certified by Google and are truly experts in the field of growing your business online. And also, we would like to engage with you and answer your questions as well. Feel free to jump into the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag PartnersConnect. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Joanna Aston. Joanna is a senior account executive, and today she's going to be sharing some information about how today's consumer is shopping for new products and how you can utilize Google to engage with potential customers. Joanna?
Thank you, Cedric. I'm excited to talk to you today about how the consumer has changed and how the retailers can better anticipate the needs of this new consumer. I've worked with retailers over the last 14 years to help determine their digital strategy as consumers have increasingly turned to digital to decide what and where to buy. So, okay, let's get started. Remember this? When Google was just a search engine, life was a lot simpler. Only 5% of the world had access to the internet. Well, fast forward to today, and over 50% of the world has access to the internet, and that large clunky computer that we used to access is now a supercomputer in our pocket, thanks to the mobile device. It's truly transformed the way we've experienced the world. The smartphone has been around for around 11 years now. Hard to believe. I can't imagine a time without smartphone. It sparked a revolution in the way that we have behaved. Mobile has quite literally changed everything. Connection to the internet is now ubiquitous. We're constantly connected. We love our devices, but what we love most is the power our devices give us. So let's have a look at that shift in more detail. Today, there are over 8 billion connected devices. That's more devices than people. So we have mobile phones, but we also have smartwatches, personal assistants, thanks to Google Home and Alexa. We are more and more connected. There's every opportunity to have some digital touch point within our lives. And if we look at 2020, just 2 years from now, we anticipate there to be over 20 billion connected devices. Phenomenal growth. That means that there'll be over 1 million devices coming online every single hour. And it's having a huge impact on the way that we're connected to the world. Growth in this connectivity is having a dramatic impact of how consumers behave and how we interact with our retailers. In 2017, $2.3 trillion was transacted across e-commerce. That's almost a 25% growth on the previous year. And of that, $1.4 trillion came from mobile. That's an increase of almost 40% year on year. The reality is a large proportion of people's days have been spent online. So let's take a deeper dive to better understand that. In 2017, nearly half of all smartphone users are spending at least 3 hours a day on their mobile device. Now, I don't know about you, but I spend a lot more than 3 hours a day. It gets me up in the morning through my alarm. I immediately check my email. It's the way I converse and connect with my friends and my family. It's also increasingly becoming a big part of how I'm, my entertainment, how I'm interacting with the world, through scrolling through Instagram for inspiration. I'm very much, connected through my mobile device. And in fact, in the US, the average user is spending at least 5 hours a day through their mobile devices. And this trend is having a big impact on retail. If we think about how much time people are spending across digital, it's now actually surpasses any other media form. So digital and mobile is becoming an increasingly big part of people's days. And the reality is that digital shoppers are now going to represent at least 1.8 billion of the global population. In the US alone, it's expected that 81% of the US population will transact in some way across e-commerce. Phenomenal impact on the way that retail has changed as a consequence. And technology has created so many different opportunities and new moments for you to connect with this digital empowered consumer. If we think about Google and we think about our platforms, we've always had the premise that focus on the user and all else will follow. It's become a big part of the way that we've seen our products develop. In fact, it's a big motto of how we really truly decide to integrate and develop our products based on how the consumers are interacting with our products. The reality is today that we have over 7 properties with 1 billion users each. And every day, those users are giving us millions of different signals about how they're interacting with our products. What are their needs? What are their desires? What is their intent signals that they are delivering to us? And we're learning things. We're learning different behaviors. So of course, we've been paying close attention to this. And these developments in technology and how we're behaving is really seeing different types of conscious behaviors that the consumer is changing and evolving. And we're going to share a couple of these behaviors that we're noticing. There's 3. The first one is that we're becoming more curious. Because we have instant access to anything, we'll find the answer to almost any question that we are looking for. Because we have this power of this mobile device in our hand, we're constantly looking up information. We have this insane curiosity about the world. And I don't know about you, but I don't know any answer that's ever left any question that's ever left unanswered. We are constantly searching for more information. How many times do you hear a day? Just Google it. It's a complete reality of our world and how we as consumers are interacting with digital. Search used to be a platform where we'd come to it to answer more complex questions, research high consideration products, maybe expensive products that we're considering to purchase. But now we're noticing through our data that even the most mundane products are being searched online, such as best shower curtain or best olive oil, are seeing triple-digit growth across our platforms. It's really changing the way that we're thinking about high and low consideration products, and digital is fueling this experience. So we look at a few other stats that what we're seeing across our platforms. The reality is today that 15% of searches on Google we've never actually even seen before. And this makes sense, right? Because if you think about how desktop has moved to mobile and how our search behavior changed, well, now with mobile, we're increasingly seeing more people using voice as a way to search. So the types of queries and questions that we're getting answered are far more complex, more conversational, actually, more personal. And so as a consequence, our platforms are having to adjust to this more personalized consumer, this highly more curious consumer. And when we think about all of the considerations we take when we're thinking about what we're purchasing, digital is becoming a really important part of that. In fact, 45% of all purchases are prompted by something that we've seen online. And if we look at certain categories like apparel, that actually percentage is higher. It's more like 70%. So digital is becoming an increasingly important part of how we are researching and how we're making those consideration purchases. Another stat that we're noticing is that mobile is really becoming the place where we're figuring out what to buy, where to buy, and how you can get it. We're seeing an 85% increase in mobile searches for where to buy and where to shop, and that's grown over the last 2 years. If we look at another platform like YouTube, where people are coming for, say, a more immersive experience, ones where they can have a more of a connected sight, sound, and motion experience, much more rich. But they're utilizing it as a platform to be able to, understand more about your products, get a deeper understanding either from you as the retailer or also all of the influencers and consumers that are utilizing YouTube in order to display the products in more detail. In fact, across our platforms, we're noticing that in the past 2 years, videos with review in the title have seen more than 50,000 years worth of watch time. YouTube is becoming a really important part of the path to purchase. Consideration, particularly across big categories like apparel and beauty, YouTube is becoming a real part of how you have an enriched understanding of the product and really driving consideration within these areas. A big opportunity for retailers. The second behavior that we're seeing is that we're becoming far more demanding. Because of digital, we expect a much more personalized, curated, and accurate version of the world, such as location, our language, or maybe even taking into consideration how we've previously interacted with you as a brand or across those platforms. A good example of this within our data is when people are searching for local searches. They're no longer putting near me, for instance, Home Depot near me or yoga studio near me. Why? Well, because they're searching on their mobile. And when you do a local search, that local consideration is already being prompted through our products. And so therefore we're seeing a trend and change in people's behavior. But the reality is that it's not just on our platforms the consumer is expecting that. That translation is also being expected by the retailer to understand better personalized version of how the consumer is interacting with you as a brand. So that consistency is important to move from our platforms to your own domains. Another behavior we're seeing across this demanding consumer is an increase in searches around personal products and services. In fact, we've seen that increase by 60% over the last 2 years. A good example of that would be, what are the best running shoes for trail running? Or what is the best moisturizer for, say, sensitive skin? We're also noticing a real increase in pronouns, so people using I or me when they're searching. So what is the right dog for me, or what is the right car insurance for me? This personalization is something that digital is really driving, and the consumer is expecting our platforms to deliver this more personalized experience. This increased need for personalization actually for a consumer is really truly becoming table stakes in terms of their experience and their expectation of the digital world. We're expecting much more immediate, personal, helpful assistance at the right place at the right time. We see within our data that 58% of US shoppers expect to receive promotions or deals that are specific to their past purchases. This is really an important factor to be thinking about when we're communicating to our consumers across digital and within our physical stores. Loyalty has always been incredibly important for retailers. We know that it's an important trend that you need to better understand your consumer. But within digital, this means a much more curated message. It means a reflection and understanding of how they previously engaged with you as a brand, whether that be in-store or offline. This presents a big opportunity for you as retailers to provide a much more personalized and curated version of your services and offerings. The third behavior that we're seeing is that as consumers, we're becoming increasingly more impatient. I, for one, am a very impatient shopper. I'm always expecting, because I can get the delivery as and when I want it. My expectations have changed, and consumers need this heightened impatience to be met through the services and offerings that you're providing. If we look at our data, we're seeing that over the past 2 years, mobile searches for same-day shipping have increased by 120%. Services like Amazon Now or Amazon Prime Now with 1-hour delivery, it's really changing the mindset of the consumer. They're expecting a much more immediate reaction to their needs, and they have a heightened expectation of this delivery of service. You know, those stores that can offer buy online, pick up in store is also a great opportunity and a great strategy for you to be able to meet these expectations. The breadth of opportunity and the breadth of service that you can provide to your to your consumers is incredibly important as a consumer, so that you can, whatever desires you need, whether buying it online or getting it in store, are offered to you so that you can make that choice when you need it. I strongly encourage you to provide this full range of options as and where you can possibly do that so, in order to differentiate yourself from your competitors. If we look specifically about how the shopper is shopping in an omni-channel world, on average, 81% of shoppers will check whether a product's in stock before going into store. I know I, for one, am certainly that. But there's a reality that there's a bit of a disconnect here, because 41% of holiday shoppers wish that stores did a better job of sharing their inventory and their information. So something's broken in this. And so it makes sense, right? Because if you're a consumer and you're looking for a product and you have that availability to search online, then you will do. And it's nothing more annoying than going into store to finding the product that you're looking for is not in stock. This again can be a real differentiator for you as a retailer to provide this 360 service between digital and in-store, so that you're really delighting the consumer and providing the information that they need. Now, this all may seem a bit overwhelming, but the reality is that, you know, just 20 years ago, pretty much all transactions were happening in store. And we're starting to think or make consideration that perhaps in the future, all transactions will happen online. But the reality is we're somewhere in the middle, right? We're very much in an omni-channel world where both are very symbiotic and they support each other. If we look at global in-store sales, they've been influenced by digital touchpoint group by 43% between 2004 and 2017. This will only increase. Digital is becoming an increasingly important part of the in-store experience, as much as in-store experience is influencing that of the digital. Understanding the co-relationship between these two and understanding the impact that digital is having on your in-store shopping and your in-store consumer shopping is an incredibly important point for you to better understand, so that you can truly evaluate your digital exposure and make sure that you are evaluating it correctly and connecting to your consumer in the digital world as much as you are within the physical. So, we're seeing a far more curious, demanding, and impatient consumer, which leads us to the conclusion that today's consumer is far more empowered than ever before. The very nature in which they behave has changed, and we expect so much more. And with this growth in connected devices, this sense of empowerment will only intensify and grow. We live in a world now where retailers need to be online, not only to impact the way people buy, but also to impact the decisions in the research cycle before. We're calling this the age of assistance. As leaders within the industry, you can take a major step forward in delivering a truly assistive experience to your consumer, not only in the point of purchase, but also as they research and understand more about the products and needs that they are looking for. There are more opportunities than ever for you to connect with your consumer, to tell the stories that they want to hear, to help them find the information that they need, and to truly deliver them a much more assistive service. And with that, I'll pass it over to Cedric. Thank you,
Joanna. It's amazing to see how the growth in connectivity has really impacted the way we behave as consumers and how we thereby interact with retailers. And I want to touch on one thing that you mentioned about our Google partners. Yes, they have earned a badge, but what does that mean? Well, it means a few things. To be certified as a Google partner, they must follow best practices, have passed a comprehensive advertising exam, manage a significant amount of AdWords investment, and of course, prove time and time again their ability to help businesses succeed online. Now I'd like to introduce a short video about an online retailer from Winnipeg, Canada, Manitoba Mucklucks. What they have done is they have used Google to thrive and to engage new customers. I want you to have a look.
I think it's important to know where you come from. Our people have lived here for thousands of years, and I'm still connected to it. It gives me power. My name is Sean McCormick. I'm the founder and CEO of Manitoba Mucklucks. Manitoba Mucklucks is an Aboriginal-owned footwear brand based in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Mukluk is a fur boot Native Americans wore for the last 10,000 years, as long as they've been in North America. For the last 400 years, Aboriginal culture has been turned upside down. The mission for Manitoba is to change our community's futures for the better.
The biggest challenge is telling our story to more and more people. Most consumers don't know what a mukluk is. They've never heard of a mukluk. And so we had to find a way to get in front of people who are looking for warm winter boots, or authentic boots, or comfortable slippers. We sought out Google AdWords so that we could find those consumers and they could find us. It democratizes commerce. It allows us the same level of exposure as billion-dollar competitors.
We've gone from that first year selling 2,000 pairs to about 200,000 pairs this year.
Through our growth, the community grows.
In order to ensure that these ancient art forms stay alive, we work with Aboriginal artists that are still doing the traditional arts like mukluk making or birch bark biting.
Birch bark biting is drawing with your teeth instead of drawing with a pencil.
We put it on our website, we sell it to consumers across the world, and the artist gets 100% of the proceeds. The message is you can take care of yourself. The message is you can share and you can help others. The message is you can do what you want to do.
Of course it's important, because it's who we are as people.
What an inspiring story and a great segue to our next presenter. Carly Fitterman is an agency account strategist here at Google, and she is here to provide some recommendations as to how to drive performance with Google Shopping, as well as some other online strategies. Carly, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Cedric. My name is Carly Fitterman, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. At Google, I'm an account strategist that works with retailers to help grow and optimize their shopping campaigns. So, how can Google help you prepare for this holiday season? This holiday season, every shopper is up for grabs. They're making decisions earlier, and they're leaning into mobile more than ever. So let's go through some strategies on how to prepare for this holiday season. Consumers have higher expectations, so how can we help them have the best purchase experience possible? These are the three pillars that we're going to go through. We have to be there, we have to be valuable, and we have to be quick. At Google, we've been investing heavily to create solutions that will enable retailers to do just this, meet their consumers in their moment of need. We are here to partner with you in this new age of assistance. So let's start with be there. In terms of being there, we have to be discoverable both online and in-store at all moments when consumers browse, research, and purchase for us. This holiday season, people are shopping and looking for products longer than ever. We know that 55% of people are starting their research journey for the holidays in October. And it takes them about 13 days on average to shop and do that research. Once they do that, they're going to buy within one day. We also know in terms of online and in-store that 20% of all December traffic happens within 6 days after Christmas. So, as I said before, this holiday season is really long, and we have to be around and available for all the most important dates. We created this great holiday traffic calendar that I would strongly recommend you print out and put on your desk as soon as possible. What I've also noticed is that online conversion rates tend to increase come early November going into December. So we should use our account data that we had from last holiday season to really influence what we're doing this holiday season. In terms of being there, we have to make sure our entire inventory is available on Google Shopping. So we made this much easier for you this holiday season. We created an add-on on Google Sheets that actually lets you put your product feed from Google into a Google Sheet and send it straight to the Merchant Center. In Google Sheets, there's a great area there you can put it in, and that actually has different templates for you to use. Once you put that through, it'll go straight to the Merchant Center. It'll also show you any errors and warnings that you might have in order to make sure your product feed processes correctly. Once we update the feed, we need to make sure that we don't set it and forget it. This is not a one-time strategy, and we need to make sure that our feed is intact all the time. So in order to do this, I'd recommend using the Diagnostics tab. I typically tell my clients to look at the Diagnostics tab at least 2 to 3 times per week. This will tell you which products are eligible to show and where there are some errors. If there are any errors, you can look in the Diagnostics tab and it will show you which product has an error, what the error is, and exactly how you can fix it. Finally, in terms of being there, we have to watch our budgets. We really need to make sure that our campaigns are not budget capped, because if it is budget capped, we'll miss out on click share, traffic, and ultimately revenue, which you can't afford to lose this holiday season. There are a few things that we can do within Google Shopping that will help us watch our budgets. The first is using the Budget Simulator tool. This will forecast gains in traffic according to incremental spend levels. We can also use the Opportunities tab within AdWords to look at any budget recommendations for our existing campaigns. And finally, we can increase budgets at the campaign level by using last year's conversion rate history and adjust accordingly. So that was Be There. Now we're going to move on to how we can be valuable to our consumers. We need to understand, connect, and build relationships with consumers in their moment of intent. In order to do that, we know that more than 50% of people purchasing this year are open to purchasing from a new brand. That's an amazing opportunity for all retailers. We also know that 67% of shoppers are looking for the most relevant and personal information on their smartphone this year. We also know that Google Shopping has to be personalized and you have to give out personalized messages. Brands need to be personal and differentiate at scale. We need to amplify your unique retail assets, make them discoverable and differentiated and personalized everywhere across all channels and devices. 70% of Google shoppers are looking online to buy, and so you have to be there and present. In order to be present and personal, it's really around the campaign structure that we use. So I typically recommend my advertisers to use an 80-20 rule. 20% of products are likely to drive 80% of inventory. So there are a few ways that we can really set up our campaigns the best way possible. The first is based on products. So which products and brands are the most valuable to you as a business? The second is based on performance. So which products are going to give you the best return or drive the most profit? And the third is a hybrid approach. So I want to bid on the products that I like the most, and I also want to bid on the products that are getting the most performance for us. Doing this will really help you optimize and get the most revenue this holiday season. In setting up our campaigns, we also want to make sure we're using the campaign priority setting. So there's a tier of different priorities that we can use. The first is high priority. This is for your head products and your promotions. Around the holidays, I strongly suggest all advertisers to create campaigns outside of their campaigns and use the high priority setting. This will allow you to adjust budgets, adjust the products you want to show, and really show those promotions that are most valuable to your customers. The next campaign setting is medium priority. This is your top performers, you have this on all the time, and it excludes everything else. Then we move to low priority, which is kind of your tail, your catch-all, and your core. We know that campaign setup can take a lot of time, but it is super important this holiday season. Your Google partner can help you get the structure and prioritization set up, so I would strongly reach out to them way in advance of the holidays so we can make sure we're set up for success. We also, in terms of being personal, need to make sure we're sending out the right promotions and deals to our customers. Mass messages are meaningless. So in order to do this, we can use merchant promotions to send out the right deals, free shipping, sales, anything like that to our customers. You also can have different sales or anything like that. One thing to remember is that you cannot have discount percentages on your images, so having these promotions in the Merchant Center is crucial, and using the Merchant Promotions tab. We also have to make sure that the content in our feed is up to par. Content in your feed is king. This impacts your quality score and how you're actually successful in your campaigns. So what you have in your feed is relevant to what people are searching for and how you show up. So the few things that I recommend focusing on in your feed are titles, descriptions, and product categorization. For example, I recently worked with an advertiser to clean up their feed. It was a sporting good account. We cleaned up their titles, we added rich keywords in their descriptions, and recategorized all their products. And within the first month of doing this, we saw about a 20% uplift in conversions. This was during a low traffic time for them, so I could only imagine what's going to happen for them during the holidays, and I'm really excited to see. We also have to make sure we're using audiences correctly and reaching the right people in the moments that matter most for them with the right messages. 2 in 5 mobile shoppers leave a website without converting. We cannot lose them just because they don't convert. We have to bring them back. So there are a few ways that we can do this. First is through a remarketing list. We can re-engage those users, send them the most valuable messages, and bring them back to your site to convert. Second is through customer match. This is a great way to reach customers that know you. So what we can do is take your customer list from the last holiday season and make sure we target those people and send them the right messages, promotions, anything like that in order to get them to buy from you again this holiday season. And the third thing we should focus on are similar audiences. This is a great way to reach people that are most like your high-value customers and drive new traffic to your site and new customers. Finally, we want to make sure we're leveraging all of the features within AdWords to have the most efficient campaigns. So in order to do this, there are a few different things I want to run through. First is automation. Automation is really great because there are so many factors within Google Shopping and so much is going on during the holiday season. So this will really allow you to take a step back and use the conversion data within your account to really drive the best results on your campaigns. I typically recommend for shopping campaigns using eCPC or Target ROAS for shopping, and you can work with a Google partner to decide which bid strategy will really meet your results or meet your KPIs that you have. We also have to make sure that we have a really solid online to offline strategy for omni-channel retailers. In terms of online to offline, this is driving people in store from our online campaigns. In terms of ad formats that I would recommend using local inventory ads. This actually shows what products you have in store and where your store is. So if someone clicks on the ad, they'll actually give instructions of where your store is, when it's open, and all of that information. Also, it will show them if the product's available if they come in store. In terms of how we reach the right people, when we're using an online to offline strategy, I would recommend using local targeting, and this is based on where people are. So if someone's closer to your store, we must target them with an ad to drive them in store. We also want to make sure we're targeting them at the right time of day. So sending them messages when your store is open to drive them to come in store. I have a great story about this actually. We worked with an advertiser called Papyrus. They're a typical brick and mortar advertiser, and they segmented their customers based on lifetime value and profit and actually targeted those people with local inventory ads and other messages to bring them in store and tracked via store visits. Store visits is actually something I wanted to add here. So store visits allows you to track who actually clicked on your ad, whether it be a shopping campaign, a search campaign, or a local inventory campaign, and then they came in store. We can then eventually add a value to that and see how much online to offline revenue is coming. So, finally, we want to discuss how we can be quick. We need to remove friction and create a seamless shopping experience for all of our advertisers and all of our customers. In order to do this, mobile is key. We know that more than half of all visitors abandon your mobile site if it takes longer than 3 seconds to load. No advertiser can afford to lose this traffic, especially during the holidays. So, how can we help you make sure your site is as quick as possible in advance of the holiday season? There are a few things that we can do. First is Test My Site. This will actually allow you to see how fast your site is. It will also give you valuable information of how you can improve your site speed. Next is the News Speed Impact Calculator. This allows you to discover the profit potential that you have, what you're missing out on based on your current site speed, and how much profit and revenue your business can generate if you speed up your site a bit. And finally, most importantly, we can use accelerated mobile pages. We call these AMP. AMP pages are a great way to create a fast and seamless mobile experience for all of your customers. We typically see that these load about 85% faster than standard mobile pages, and they're a really great asset for your business. If you're interested in this, once again, reach out to a Google partner and we could help you onboard into accelerated mobile pages. So, I know that was a ton of information. The holidays are here and we must prepare early. How are we going to do that? Let's walk through a quick prep session and then we'll also go through a holiday checklist. So in order to do a quick recap of what we covered, there are a few things I would like to highlight. First, we need to anticipate the holiday traffic. Please print out that holiday calendar and put it on your desk because it's a great resource to have to know those key dates we should focus on as an advertiser. Second, highlight your promotions when shoppers are searching for you. Personalization is key, and we know from the stats that I showed before that retailers are looking for a personal experience when interacting with your brand. Third, mobile is king here. We have to make sure that our site is fast and we have a seamless and frictionless mobile experience. And finally, we have to use audiences to make sure we're sending the right messages to the right customer at the right time. Now, in terms of a holiday checklist that we should go through, this is also something that you can print out and have on your desk as you're launching campaigns, setting up your feed, or doing anything around Google Shopping. I would just make sure you have all of these boxes checked off. So the first is in terms of our feed. We have to make sure that all SKUs are there and ready to go within our feed. We also have to send high quality images and look into the diagnostics tab for any disapprovals that might come up. Next, set up your campaigns in the right structure for the holiday season. Use the campaign priority setting and set your holiday promotion campaign at that high priority. Next, we need a plan for those promotions. What are the right promotions that we want to send to our advertisers based on how they've interacted with us in the past? In terms of how they interacted with us in the past, we need to use audiences in the right way. So we need to use remarketing lists, similar audiences, and customer match to send the right targeted messages and promotions to all of our consumers. And in terms of our online to offline strategy, let's use local inventory ads, location targeting, and time of day bid modifiers to make sure we're reaching the right people. And last but not least, as I said before, mobile is critical. Please use Test My Site in advance to make sure that it's fast and ready to go for the holidays. I know we covered a lot of ground over the last 30 minutes or so, but I really want to make one final recommendation. Get help from a Google partner. I realize it may feel overwhelming. The holidays are coming and they're coming up fast. There's a ton of changes and a ton of opportunity out there for all retailers this season. There's also tremendous value to work with us, and we want to partner with you to drive the most success this holiday season. So now I'll pass it off to Cedric.
Thank you, Carly, for highlighting some opportunities that folks can take into account right away. And now it's time for our live Q&A session. So we've been keeping track of your questions on Twitter, and it's not too late to jump in. Feel free to ask a question. Just remember to use the hashtag PartnersConnect. All right, now let's see what we have here. First question comes from Dana from Washington. She wants to know, what strategies do you recommend to drive customers to stores over the holidays? Can I bid higher on users who are within proximity of my stores?
Yes, of course. So as I said before, there are a few strategies that omnichannel retailers can take. The first is definitely you can bid higher when we know someone's closer to your store. You can do that through location bid adjustments. You can also target retailers based on the time of day that your store is open. So if your store is open from 9 to 5, make sure you're pushing those ads to them in that time. On top of that, look into like local inventory ads and updating a local inventory feed because that will also show when your inventory is online, and we know that consumers are curious.
I'd add to that as well, try and measure as much as possible. So utilize tactics such as store visits to understand when you're utilizing these strategies, what impact it's having actually physically of driving people in store so that you truly understand the value of your media.
Very good insights. Next, we have Kim from Austin. Kim wants to know, how would you suggest tailoring promotions to users who have already shown interest in your products?
Great. I'll take that one. Okay. So in terms of tailoring promotions, that's through a really strong audience strategy. So if you know that someone came to your site and didn't convert, so we would call that a shopping cart abandoner, I would definitely make sure you have a targeted list of those people, and then after a few days or even after a few hours, depending on your business, you can send them an ad with a set promotion, whether that be a deal or a discount or free shipping or something like that. And we've seen that work really well with other advertisers.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Next question we have is from McKay Advertising from Tampa, Florida. How can retail advertisers best attribute which in-store offline purchases were influenced by online activity, aka tracking offline conversions?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we sort of added that on the first question. It's really utilizing store visits, which is available within AdWords across search and also YouTube, so that when people are searching online and they are using, particularly across mobile, when they are actively searching, you can also track that click that happened across AdWords and how they then attract to physically going in store through store visits. You see a ratio and a percentage uplift, and it then can understand that, okay, so every time someone clicks on a mobile device within proximity of the store, 10% of those are coming into store. You can then understand a better understanding of, you know your customers best, and you know how they convert within store, so you can start to equate a value to that and translate that back to how you bid and how you strategize across a truly digital and omnichannel strategy through AdWords.
Great. And here's Chloe from Seattle. How far in advance should companies add or update local inventory feeds?
I can take that one. So in terms of updating your local feed, do it as soon as possible in advance of the holiday season. Sometimes local feeds take a while to get up to date. You have to make sure all your inventory is correct. Your Google partner will work with you to make sure that Google has all your right inventory. So in terms of having this ready for the holidays, I would do it now if possible. So as early as you can would be the best answer.
That's great advice. Mm-hmm. Robert from Toronto. With more users searching on mobile, what % of budget would you recommend allocating to mobile bids? And is there a good way to automate this?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So in terms of % of budget, I would really look to our automated bid strategies here to run this the most efficiently. If you use a bid strategy such as Target ROAS for shopping, this will actually take into account the devices that are working best for you. If a bid strategy does not work for you in terms of devices, I typically recommend my clients to look at all of their devices holistically and look at what's driving the most conversions at the lowest cost per conversion, and then adjusting bids and budgets that way in terms of performance.
I mean, ultimately, we want to be following the consumer. We're seeing mobile to becoming an increasingly important part of how people are researching, and that only accelerates during holiday season as we get closer to holiday and the urgency of purchasing increases. So you need to be available, and you need to be online, and you need to be providing the plethora of choice between desktop and mobile. So automation is key, but most importantly, it's just follow where that consumer is, meet the demand, whatever the device, and make sure that you can be as competitive as possible based on your performance goals.
Thank you. So Julia from San Diego focuses on B2B clients. She wants to know, what's the best way to use those tips in preparation for the holiday?
I can take that. I mean, ultimately, whether you're B2C or B2B, they're still a consumer, and they're still using our platforms, they're still using digital as much as possible in order to research. So really what I advise is to you really understand those intent signals that you're trying to track and see that research process across our platforms. You know, definitely utilize your Google partners to understand that rich research cycle, with whether it be B2B or B2C. And then just follow where the consumer is. Often on a B2B cycle, you tend to see that to be slightly longer. So again, please partner with the Google partners to understand what that research journey is, and make sure that you are present and available as and when that B2B consumer is shopping.
Yeah, these have been incredibly insightful questions and answers, and it's still not too late to ask yours. If you do have a question that comes to mind, feel free to jump in, use #PartnersConnect. Next, we have David from close by in San Francisco. He wants to know, what kind of increased sales insights do you have for post-holidays? When does the lift stop?
Well, January is actually a really big shopping season too. It's often when retailers start to enter sales, so be it straight after Christmas and into sales, and consumers know that. They're aware of that behavior and they're really starting to research. My advice, as much as possible, is follow that consumer. Look back to last year and understand how the buying cycle changed. Look at the data that's available to you and better understand and anticipate what we're expecting this year. The buying cycle is starting as early as researching in October, November, and it continues through January. So, really meet that demand as much as possible and make sure that you budget for that too. We often see retailers fall off right as the crux of the holiday season ends, and it's a huge opportunity to be able to extend that into January as people continue to research, perhaps send back the presents they didn't want and try and find new ones. It's a very active time within the search landscape, and people are actively researching. So, I strongly recommend you to see what happened last year and anticipate that only to continue or increase over the next in 2018 into 2019.
Amazing. Anna from Detroit, would you remarket differently during holidays versus the rest of the year?
Yes, I can take that one. I would. In terms of how you set up your campaign, we know that traffic is hyper competitive during the holidays, so remarketing is more important than ever. So for example, what I would do in terms of campaign setup is when you have those products that are really valuable to you, but maybe more expensive in terms of when you're bidding on them, I would send those to the most targeted people that you can, that you know are most likely to purchase, as opposed to just mass messaging. So in terms of how you're remarketing, personalization during the holidays is crucial, like we spoke about before.
Great. Francesca from Denver wants to know, when do you recommend retailers start preparing for holiday marketing and promotions?
Now.
Yes, immediately.
As I mentioned, I've worked with retailers for the last 14 years, and we're starting to prepare sometimes in the January post the season, really understanding the insights of everything that we learned from the year previous, but now is crucial, particularly with some of the tactical requirements around feeds and maintenance around that. Let's do not you need to anticipate how long those things take, and to be prepared is the best thing possible in order to, when the researching and the demand starts happening as early as in October, you're ready and you're at the forefront of to meet that consumer demand. So, it can never be too early. And so please, start thinking about it now, partner with your Google partners and really kind of understand and reference that holiday checklist that we shared in order to be as prepared as possible.
Start now, I love it. Our friend John from New York wants to know, how do all of these trends affect a service-based business?
I think, again, like a little bit like the B2B question, we are so fortunate with digital that we collect so much information around our consumers across our platforms. With Google, we have 7 platforms with 1 billion users each. We're getting a tremendous amount of intent signals. And I think particularly around service, we're seeing these trends come through on our platforms. I noted that the consumer is becoming increasingly more demanding and impatient. We're definitely seeing that. And service and the requirements of meeting that service is something that's increasingly being expected online. So if you are providing a service, you need to be providing all of the information available to the consumer through any form of digital device, be that a desktop or a mobile, so that they can find the information that they need, that they feel satisfied, that they can do it quickly. You can connect to mobile calls, etc., as much as possible, utilizing the technologies that are available to you. And because digital is becoming the place where people are, particularly from a service standpoint, wanting to find the information that they're looking for.
Great. Yeah. So Chris is interested in AMP. He's from Florida. He wants to know, is AMP just for blog pages? Or can companies use them for product pages as well?
Got it. AMP is definitely not just for blog pages. I would strongly recommend you do use them for product pages. We have a few really large retailers that are using these on their product pages, and the reason being is because your product page is the most important. That's where people are coming to buy your product and they're actually converting and purchasing there. So if you don't have a quick and seamless mobile experience for people to make that purchase, you might not be able to get them to buy. So using AMP on your product pages is definitely a great idea.
Claire from San Francisco, in Google Shopping, do you recommend bidding on competitor names like in search ads?
Yes, that's a great question. I don't necessarily, because the way Google Shopping works is your feed is what's really driving how you're showing. So you don't necessarily have to bid on competitors' brand names to show there, because if they search the brand name and the actual product that they're looking for, because you have that product name in your feed, you can actually show up. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that. I don't think that it has to be a parallel strategy between search and shopping. In terms of shopping, what's most important is the content in your feed. So the descriptions, the titles, and how you categorize your products is really where you're going to be the most successful to drive that conversion.
Fantastic insight. Golden Triangle Mall from Denton would like to know, what advice do you have for malls in today's market who are looking to bridge the gap between in-store retail and online promotion?
You know, I think we mentioned that omni-channel is the new norm. You know, people are increasingly using digital as a way of navigating the world and researching and determining when and where to shop. You know, and the retailers that are physically within the mall are starting to better understand that association between researching online and physically shopping within the store. So I think as much as possible to partner with the retailers that are within that physical experience and understand what the parallels and contrast and the value of digital is to that omni-channel shopper will be crucial. Because, you know, people continue to shop and enjoy a mall-like experience, but what they're expecting is something that is they're coming less frequently, but they're coming more informed. So again, you know, much is exactly the same way as retailers need to be providing that information online, malls do too, in terms of services, navigation, etc. So being present and available across our Google platforms so that people can navigate and understand how they can get to your establishment, that's as crucial for the malls as the retailers themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy from Chicago would like to know, since customers assume their ads should be personalized, do you recommend adding keywords like near me or for me to keyword lists?
So I think what we discussed before is that in terms of mobile, you don't necessarily need to do this anymore because people have that expectation that you're just going to kind of have the idea of where you are and what's most relevant to you. I don't think it's a terrible idea to do it because it will just help get you the right information quicker, but I don't think it's necessary. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree.
So Chris from Washington has a very insightful question. We keep saying holiday season. When the holiday season is so far away, how do we prepare this far ahead?
You want to take that?
Go ahead.
So I think, you know, if you were present last year on holiday across Google's platforms, then that is a tremendous amount of information and rich insight that you can garner in order to prepare and better anticipate for the consumer's needs. Now, what we're noticing is that it always accelerates. The curiosity and the research period is extending, so anticipate that too, but utilize the data that you had from last year in order to inform the strategy this year. And be prepared, as mentioned. Ensure that you have enough budget and flexibility actually within that budget to meet the consumer demand. Utilize strategies like automation in order to have that flexibility of when and where you're present, and make sure that mobile is a big part of your strategy, because we are increasingly see that consumer coming to mobile in order to accelerate and determine that research process during holiday. So as we've said before, very much prepare now, as much as you can be prepared ahead of holiday season, ahead of the craziness. It really sets you up for success, and it enables you to be, as I said, a differentiator within the space. Because if you're scrambling right at the last minute, you may be missing opportunities. So, look back at the previous information that you perhaps got from your last campaigns, partner with the Google partners, and start to prepare now.
Yep, and just one thing to add to that, what Joanna said, partner with us. We really want to be there for you this holiday season, so contact your Google partner right after this broadcast, and we'll make sure that you're the most prepared for the holidays this year, and you should start now.
Eloise from LA asks, how do you recommend brands stay competitive and maintain impression share on peak holidays?
Yes. So there's a few things that we covered off in order to be the most competitive during the peak holiday times. First is having as much of your inventory as available as possible. That will enable you to show as many products as you can in terms of what people are searching for. You also want to make sure that your feed is clean and it has the best content in it that you possibly can. This would be my recommendation to stay competitive, because if you don't have the best content in your feed, or if you don't have the best feed set up, somebody else will. And like I said before, your feed in Google Shopping is really what's going to drive the most success.
And I would just add to that as well, as much as you can, understand who your consumer is. So utilizing audience strategies too really helps you provide a much more personalized advertising strategy. It also gives you that competitive advantage to know that you can bid more aggressively on certain certain consumers versus others. It really gives you that advantage that allows you to feel more confident in your strategies and basically focus your investments where you see your consumers engaging, converting, and it really strengthens the overall performance of your campaign. So I'd really recommend a strong audience strategy in combination to what Carly mentioned.
Thank you. Well, that's all the time we have for questions today. Sorry if we didn't have the chance to get to yours. At this point, I want to thank Joanna and Carly for presenting for us today and sharing all that insightful information.
Pleasure.
I'd also like to thank you, the viewers from all across North America. We hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. However, either way, we love feedback here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Twitter or by using the following link, g.co/partnersconnectfeedback. And remember, the Google partners there in the room with you, they are experts. They can assist with setting up and managing your campaigns. Please get in touch with them to help grow your businesses online. And that'll do it for us, folks. On behalf of all the teams here in Mountain View, California, we hope you have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.